Om Gangadipataye Namaha. Namaste. So, this is the second part of the introduction. Because we wanted to address a specific problem. You know, I used to work as an engineer, a field engineer for Hewlett-Packard. And I used to go to these big installations and labs and stuff and work on all this equipment. And one of our big jobs was troubleshooting. If something wasn't working right, get it to work right. Fix it. So over the years, involved in the whole yoga scene, the whole self-realization scene, and the Eastern religion scene, I noticed that there was something wrong. It wasn't working right. People weren't getting enlightened. Now, every spiritual path and every religion and every yoga school and every swami and every spiritual teacher makes the claim, this is going to lead you to enlightenment. Isn't it? But how many people do you know who are enlightened? Or who even think they're enlightened? Very, very few. Now, first of all, I have to be honest with you. There's a good deal of cognitive dissonance involved in teaching enlightenment. Anybody who denies this, or appears to deny it, either isn't being straight with you, isn't being sincere, or there's some kind of sociopath exploiting you. So try to understand. We're creating an identity and communicating about things that cannot be communicated about, really. We're saying words about stuff that can't be described by words, and whose ultimate aim is to get rid of identity. We're creating an ego around a process whose aim is to destroy the ego. We're building a mind around something whose aim is to destroy the mind. Because this is not an additive practice. Try to understand. Yoga is not an additive process. We're not going to give you something. We're not going to make you something more than you are today. No, quite the reverse. We're going to take things away until there's nothing left but the original, authentic self, Brahman. That's the real process of yoga. Now, different sectarian teachers try to dress this up as religion and say, we have the only way. But any way that involves learning a bunch of stuff and then doing a bunch of stuff can't be the authentic way, because it adds something to you, isn't it? Well, we want to take everything away. It's a subtractive process. That's one thing. So one of the reasons why yoga and spiritual paths don't work, don't give the final result of enlightenment, is that they're trying to do some additive process rather than a subtractive process. The other reason is a little bit more difficult to explain, more difficult to understand. The original Vedic philosophy is called Advaita. A means not. Dvaita means two. So Advaita means not two. Does that mean one? Some people assume that it does. But that's not correct. Now, the people who assume incorrectly that not two means one are called monists. And they're everywhere today. Their slogan is, it's all one, baby. And what this means to them is that everything is God. Therefore, I am God. Therefore, I can do whatever I want. This is a very dangerous misunderstanding of Advaita. Technically, it's called Neo-Advaita because it's something that was invented comparatively recently. See, about 1250 years ago, the great sage Śankarācārya, he's called Ādi-Śankarācārya because his followers are also known as Śankaracharyas. So he's the original. He consolidated the whole Vedic teaching of the Upanishads and Vedanta, and he really solidified the philosophy of Advaita. And the practices he taught all over India are still followed today by the majority of so-called Hindus. They're not really Hindus, that's a foreign name. They're Sanatan Dharmikas, or maybe Advaitins. But now there's a teaching in those days known as karma-mīmāmsha. And the karma-mīmāmsakas were the sworn enemies of Shankara because he blew up their whole theory. Karma-mīmāmsha basically means the only thing that's true is cause and effect. So if you create causes, you'll get the results, and that's all there is to know about religion. And there is no liberation. The material world matter is the ultimate reality. And whatever you want, you can get it by creating the proper causes. Does that sound familiar? It should. Monism and karma-mīmāmsha are the philosophies behind modern science and fascism, communism, and so on. It's all one, baby. Do whatever you want. It's the secret. There's even a big film about that. But it's wrong. And the reason why it's wrong is that these people want to be one with God, but retain their individual egos. No, sorry. Doesn't work. But it's very dangerous because the oneness of Theosophy and of Nietzsche gave birth to the fascism of the Third Reich. And the oneness of Karl Marx, expressed in a political format, a socio-economic format, became communism. And that was the cause of the communist revolution in China and in Russia. So all told, hundreds of millions of people have died because some people decided that they were God and they could do whatever they want. So monism is a very dangerous philosophy. However, today, it has become Neo-Advaita, and it masquerades as Advaita in most contexts. Most of the people who put themselves out as teaching Advaita are actually teaching Neo-Advaita. They're not teaching Advaita at all, they're teaching monism. This is a very serious problem because monists believe that since they're already God, there's no need for any sadhana, no need to follow any principles, no need for moral rules and so on like that, which are the basis of human society. So basically they are sociopaths. And monism is a philosophy that justifies sociopathy. And it's sufficiently sophisticated that most people aren't educated enough to see the illogic of it. Or if they do, because it's really common sense, then yeah, you're not God. Duh. But if they do see that with their common sense, they can't explain it. They can't come up with a counter-argument that's good enough to nullify the arguments of Neo-Advaita. So what we're going to do in this series, very extensive series, it's going to be hundreds of videos in this series, is we're going to systematically demolish Neo-Advaita and monism. And we're going to systematically establish the original Advaita of Vedānta-sūtra. So it's going to be a very interesting and very valuable series for anybody who wants the actual result of spiritual life, which is Advaita. Enlightenment does not come from practicing Neo-Advaita. It does not come from practicing monism. So people who get sucked into the monist bubble aren't reaching enlightenment and won't reach enlightenment. And if their usual activities are any guide, they're headed for a lower birth. So we want to try to convince people to give up this deviant Neo-Advaita monist philosophy and understand the original, authentic Advaita. That's the aim of this series. Om Tat Sat. Aum Harihi Aum.